two men come together to bring you the most useless shit you never knew you needed to know. Welcome to the Moose and Squirrel Show. In a world where moose and squirrels live together in dysfunctional harmony, one man, well, two men come together. In a world where moose and squirrels live together in dysfunctional harmony, one man, well, two men come together to bring you the most useless shit you never knew you needed to know. Welcome to the Moose and Squirrel Show.
Hey, the first anniversary show would not be complete without some technical difficulties to fucking start. The dumbass producer clicking the wrong fucking buttons. That guy needs to get fired.
Hello. 1 year. Holy hell.
Fucking year. 1 year ago, like...
Unbelievable.
I think it was like August 6th or August 8th, so it's technically not like on the 1 year anniversary, but it's close enough.
Awesome. And we started out with the Metallica episode.
Yep.
Much like Metallica from Kill 'Em All to Injustice for All, from the Metallica episode right up until what we were about to do today, we were searching, we were seeking, we were destroying, and now I can't remember anything. Can't tell if this is true or dream. Thank you all for joining us for this past year. What a fun ride it's been. I can't stress it enough. Moose and Squirrel. Here we are, Sunday afternoon at noon, like we always do. Happy summer, happy oppressive heat. Happy 1 year anniversary to us. I should have brought party hats.
All you fucking psychos that like this heat, I hope you all burn in hell.
Probably will.
Because this is fucking miserable.
We're halfway there right now.
For that Moose and Squirrels live, we ought to check this out.
Oh my goodness.
That like this heat.
What's up, people? Hi. Can't see the names from here, but hi. Hi.
You're going to get your own copy.
Hi.
You're gonna get your own,
hi.
Get your own copy right there.
Carrie Ann, hi. Jeremy, hi. Kelly, hey.
Kelly, Trina, hey. Thank you.
Happy anniversary. Thank you.
1 year anniversary.
Love it. Is it paper? Is that a 1 year anniversary?
I think it's toilet paper, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I don't carry folding.
I hate the heat, Kelly. That's why I love you.
I don't carry folding money anymore, so I guess the 1 year anniversary is plastic.
There you go.
Yeah. I only have a debit card.
It's EBT.
Yep, EBT. Everybody buys things.
Karina, thank you. Gabby, thank you. Yeah, you know what? Here's the funny part about it. This should actually be like our 3 year anniversary because we had talked about doing the show in 2019.
Yes.
And we had put the idea together. We did the Moose and Squirrel. We were like, yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to do. We started doing a ton of show prep.
Outline the whole thing.
And then, lives get busy. You start fucking doing shit.
And then there was also, then when we regrouped and we were like, yeah, let's get this done. After a couple of months, there was like, I don't know, this big world event happened. I don't remember what they called it, but like people couldn't get together for a thing or two. I don't know. We were like, keeping apart from each other somehow. I forget what that was called.
6 feet.
That was what it was called. It was called the 6 Feet Show.
Yes, exactly.
The 6 Feet Affair.
But yeah, so COVID got in the way. We obviously slowed down because of that, and we had still been kicking around the ideas, but we originally came up with this idea in 2019.
That's correct.
Like August of 2019. And then in August of 2021, we said, fuck it, let's go.
Yep.
And it was literally, we had talked about it like the weekend before, and we were like, this Sunday we're doing it. So there was no prep yet. If you've watched the first couple episodes, there's so many technical difficulties because we hadn't really prepped for it. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
My face was one of them.
We just kind of jumped in, plugged in a couple microphones, set up a fucking camera, and said, all right, let's go, let's do this. And
Let's talk about something we know about.
Yeah, let's talk about
And then
the easiest topic we'll ever have, Metallica.
And we'll wing the next fucking 40 episodes.
Yes, we're on 42.
Nice. Happy 42.
Well, that doesn't include any snippets. Those are 42 Sunday shows that we've done.
Wow.
Included the couple that you missed.
I know. I was going to ask you,
we had the Magnus and the dickhead who shall not be named.
The sports and the guns.
We had Doug Flood.
Oh yeah,
So those 2 episodes were the 2 that you weren't here. I think those are the only 2 episodes I've done without you.
Yeah.
Solo.
Were you sad?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to ask you what because this is the 1-year anniversary. What was your favorite episode? Do you have one?
No.
Okay.
I think they all suck. Yeah, it's just, you know what? You know what my favorite episode is? This one. You know what my favorite episode is going to be after this one? The next one.
All right, that's a good answer.
That is every week. This week I didn't do anything different, but every week I try and improve the production. I try and get better topics. I do because in the beginning we did no research. We just legitimately just said, "Here's what we're going to do," and there was like no research. And now we actually do a little bit of research, a little bit of show prep, so that we're prepared. We never had a problem with keeping things flowing. That was never an issue. We always flowed like your hair.
Water ripples and flows.
We always flowed.
Oh yeah, go back to the first episode and you see my slick back haircut.
Yes.
Now look at it. Now look at me.
And we just
I use dog shampoo now.
And we just
It is rough. Bark. But I gotta say, my favorite episode though was I have a couple, but the Doug Flood episode because I got to watch it from a viewer perspective.
I was going to say the Doug Flood episode because you weren't here.
That one too, because I was in my pajamas watching it.
I did enjoy the episode 3 or 2 when we had Magnus on.
Yeah,
and we talked about because obviously having my son on the show.
That was good.
If you don't know, Magnus does the voice introduction. He does the breaking news introduction. We got a lot of other stuff planned for him for this year for different voiceovers, and I'm trying to get him.
Talk about keeping it flowing. He was fucking on point that day.
And he did he's done some camera work for us when me and Eric took down the Hornet's Nest. Why didn't you come for that show?
That was I was sleeping that night.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
I offered, and then I didn't come.
Yes. Like, I might come by for trivia. Wait a minute, you guys are doing a Hornet's Nest?
No, I was gonna. I would have come, but I was sleeping. I had to go to work.
That was Eric Testa in the house. Yes, Mr. Three Bald Face Hornet Sting, the survivor.
Yeah, I was trying to do the numbers with my fingers, but it didn't work.
Yep. Yeah,
nice.
That was
entertaining.
That was definitely entertaining. It would have been, and again, first show that we tried doing outside, kind of like that. We did the one on the deck, but that was still setting up.
Yep.
But technical difficulties, still working them out.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun
one. A lot of this stuff is just still trying to figure it out as I go. And that one there, I had my laptop, which I had never done it on before, so I was having problems with the audio, which we seem to have audio problems all the time on the show.
Oh, and then we can't forget the Stacy episode with cover songs. Mm-hmm. That was fun because it was nice to have a third perspective on our opinions. And
the Valentine's episode we did with the ladies.
With the ladies,
yep.
I was just about to say that because they that was our man crush, girl crush episode. That was fun. That was a good one.
Absolutely.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, food. Can't forget food.
Beer. The beer episode might have been my favorite one just because we got to get shit-faced and people watched. I say that we, before the summer's over, we do that again.
Oh, definitely.
We have to figure out when we don't have to work on a Monday and
we pick
and do another beer episode.
Yep.
Beer is good.
Here's beer is good. Nah!
We won't play any more of that because those guys are fucking a bunch of communist cocksuckers and try to demonetize my videos when I play their beer is good sound. We try not to do too much of that.
Is that Psycho Cunt?
Yeah, fuck Psycho Cunt.
Okay.
So, today, we are going to reminisce a little bit about the past.
All right. Didn't we just do that?
But not about us.
Oh, good.
Why did your video stop? Hold on a second.
I don't know.
I'm going to restart your video for you.
Restart my heart.
I hope you mute it.
He makes it all happen.
Yes.
He's the man to thank. Don't thank me. I'm just here.
Yeah, we're going to reminisce a little bit, but not about us. We're going to talk about all the stores that were around when we were youngins. We like going in the Wayback Machine.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go in the Wayback Machine. And
While you went in the way back of the station wagon to these stores we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, with no seatbelts.
No seatbelt.
Or the back of the pickup truck with no seatbelts, bouncing around in the back of Dad's F-150.
Boom.
Yes. Before everybody got...
COVID?
Yes. I got it. Stupid.
Mm.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about lots of old stores, get some restaurants mixed in here. Some of them are going to be, unique to the Northeast. One in particular is going to be very unique to the Northeast. But yeah, we're going
Rocket Records.
Rocket Records.
That was unique to the Northeast.
On the list.
Nobody cares if you're offended.
Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
I got to get the X out of my face. Look at that. You're seeing live updates. There we go. So when I do the wrong button, it's in the middle.
X gets a square.
Absolutely. Richard Dawson would be proud.
Yes. And he put it right over your
There
face,
we go.
so X truly got a square. Not mine. All right. Let's get down to
All right, let's get down to business here.
brass tacks here.
There we go. Number one.
Oh.
Caldor. Who remembers Caldor? All right, so we got Jeremy Cook says Ann and Hope. Kelly Coretta says Woolworth. Both on the list. Jeremy Cook saying Caldor, Rich's, Jerry's. Jerry's kind of on the list.
Army Navy store?
Jerry's Army Navy store.
There was one in Malden.
The guy that owned Jerry's Army Navy store owns Rich's department store as well, Jerry Rich.
Well, he should make up his mind. Oh, that's his name, Jerry Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Wow. That sounds like a tax evasion scam.
Yes. Surprisingly
What's the name of your store? Jerry's. Well, that closed down. I mean Rich's.
Rich's, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
He was an asshole. Met him a couple times. Not a nice guy.
Oh,
So
fuck him anyway.
We're going to start with Caldor. There was a Caldor on Highland Ave in Salem. There was a Caldor on Route 1 in Saugus.
Route 1 in Saugus.
Yep.
There was a Caldor on Eastern Ave in Malden. I mean, Medford's Highland Ave. I haven't lived there in years. I forget. But
Yep.
you go there. Redstone Plaza, Stoneham. On Main Street, Route 28.
And that was
Yes.
kind of like a modern day Target where it was, they didn't sell appliances, right? They were just like clothing,
Anything and everything, yeah.
anything, but they weren't an appliance store.
Right.
They were like kind of like
Almost a Walmart. They had the auto parts section.
Right.
You could buy your kids' bikes there.
But they didn't have appliances. They didn't have electronic. They had a very small electronic section.
Right.
So they were more like a Target. Not even like a Target. More like a Kohl's almost.
TVs, VCRs.
Yep. Just small electronics kind of stuff.
Just a basic department store.
Yep. And it was kind of a shitty store.
Not quite a Kmart.
Not quite a Kmart. Yep.
But
it was like it was the Kmart of Kmart's.
It was the Kmart of Kmart's.
Yeah. And
Kmart didn't make the list because technically they're still in
technically
business.
there are still stores. Yes.
Mhm.
So hold on. Caldor was founded in 1951 and it closed its last store in 1999 at a max capacity. It had 145 stores.
Wow.
There were 145 Caldor stores. So we tried naming a few, but we're certainly not going to fucking name them all.
Another one of those stores that everyone in New England put a damn plural on the end of it.
Caldors.
You going to fucking
We're going
Caldors?
to Caldors. How many of them? You going to go to all of them? Oh, we got a whole bunch on here. Let me see.
Yeah, mine aren't showing up.
Heartland.
Oh,
Yeah.
Heartland in Malden on
Yep.
99 South Broadway.
Yeah, Karina says Lynn Phelps Parkway in Saugus, there was a Caldor.
All right.
It was right by where they built Kelly's.
Yes.
Yep, there was a Caldor right in that
And it's
parking lot.
Marshall's now.
Child World, that's one that we don't have on the list.
Child World.
Grossman's Lumber.
Grossman's. Building 19, 2.5 and 4 3/4.
Carrie Borders Books, we're going to get to Borders Books. That's definitely on the list, but let's move on to number 2 here. Yeah, we're going to do number 2.
I got to do a number 2.
Ann and Hope.
Ann plus Hope.
Ann and Hope. I have a cousin Ann and I have a cousin Hope. Would you imagine that?
Ann and also Hope.
Ann and Hope, yes. So they were founded in 1953. They closed in 2001. They actually had an outlet store that was open until 2020. And they had 11 stores at their max. So I think that Ann and Hope was a
Local?
was more of a local show. I'm trying to be able to read here and
The only one I remember is the one at the North Shore Mall.
Liberty Tree Mall.
Liberty Tree Mall.
And then it was like the Ann and Hope where they just sold like curtains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were
Doilies and such.
Yep. So Ann and Hope was basically a clothing store.
Yeah.
Yep, they didn't sell much other than clothing, and it was right where it was like one of the main anchor stores at the Liberty Tree Mall.
Right when you drive in the main driveway past Kelly's, again,
Yeah.
it's facing you. And I forget what it became. Probably Kohl's or something stupid.
I think that's where the Kohl's is. Yeah, I think that used to be Ann and Hope.
But I would be like, whenever my mother would have to, I'd be out. She's like, I got to go shopping. I got to do a couple of things. We're going to Ann and Hope. I'm like, where are we going? We're going to Ann and Hope. I'm like, and I hope we're not going to be in here for 4 fucking hours because this place is terrible for a 12-year-old child. or 8-year-old
It
child.
was most definitely not a fun store.
What you got?
Jeremy, your mom worked where at Ann and Hope? Got to be more specific. We're going by. Everybody's throwing up names here. McClellan's in Lynn, Union Street. I don't remember McClellan's. Heartland next to Caldor on Highland Ave. Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Bradley's, Borders Books. Palmer's is another one I don't remember. Leechmere. Yep, we're going to get to Leechmere, but we're moving on. Number 3 on the list.
Stewart's. Jamie, I got you. Stewart's.
Come on.
Stewart's and Heartland. Same plaza. And the Bank for Savings
Why
of
are
Malden.
you not changing? My hotkeys are not working.
Oh,
here.
no. Hotkeys coming through.
Come on. There you go. Zare.
Another plural.
Another one.
Zare's
Yes.
kid.
All right, Zare. That was founded in 1956, closed in 1990. I worked at the Zare on Route 1 Saugus. That was next to Child World. At one point, they had 420 stores, dude. 420, man.
Nice.
420 was the downfall of Zare's. Right there.
That's it.
They were sold to Ames. 1988.
Zare had
another store that I worked at. Actually, I didn't work at Ames. I worked at when it was Zare. I worked there, but Ames bought Zare in 1988.
Zare's.
Zare's.
There
okay.
I go. Zare had a smell about it that was undefinable. Like Bradley's always smelled like popcorn because they had that back lunch counter, but Zare always smelled. Oh no, they had the same thing. They had the popcorn machine in the back.
Yep.
And everything seemed to be orange in that place.
Yes.
Ugh.
And then Zare became Ames, and that was founded in 1958 and closed in 2002. And at one point, they had 327 stores.
Wow.
So these were two, and I think these were primarily Northeast, both Zare and Ames. I'm not sure if they were, if they had a big presence outside of the Northeast, but obviously I lived up here.
Chris Taylor, Zare was always a mess.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
It always looked like it was the day after a Black Friday sale, and you went in and just fucking shit was everywhere.
Yep.
It was, and they were one of those stores that, because they couldn't put more racks in the store, when you went to pull your shirt off the rack, like 14 others would fall on the floor, and you just kick them underneath. So there was more clothes on the floor than there was actually on the rack, because they just packed the racks. Both Zare and Ames was the same way. And when I worked at Zare, they were getting ready to go out of business. They had been liquidating some of the stores, and they were starting to close them down. And half the store was empty. Like they used to have a garden section, like you go to Walmart and they have the garden section.
Oh yeah.
And Zare used to have one, and when you went in there was like 2 lawnmowers and a bag of lawn fertilizer, and that was it. Just a bunch of miscellaneous discontinued shit, and that's what they ended up using that section for, was they put all the discontinued items in it, and then eventually they just sealed it off. And then they started making the store smaller and smaller, and then closed. But I only worked there for like 3 months, and I quit because I was supposed to be working part-time, getting 20 hours a week, and the store manager cut me down to 1 8-hour shift a week, and I told him it wasn't enough. So then he thought giving me 2 4-hour shifts instead of 1 8-hour shift would do better, and I quit.
Yeah, I want to work multiple days for the same hours.
And when I quit, I got the job working at Christie's Market, and the guy at Christie's Market told me that he gave me a bad reference, so I went to the store and was escorted out by the Saugus police.
Fun.
Because I went to confront the manager for giving me a bad reference.
Christie's another store out of business, or just operating under. If they became Tedeschi's.
Rebecca saying that they had an Ames in West Virginia. So yeah, they've been. No one in Florida knew what you were talking about. Yeah, Ames. So still kind of northeast, but
all right,
mid-Atlantic-ish.
Cool.
John, do you remember when Farmers City came in and replaced Grant Value? Question from Jamie.
Do you remember when Farmer City came in and replaced Giant Value in my hood?
All right, well, you're thinking.
No, was that after Heartland closed down? Because I do remember Stewart's, and I do remember Heartland, and there was another store. If you're looking at Stewart's, there was another store small store to the left of it. I forget. I got Oh, that was Roller World. Never mind. Roller Town, or
Roller something.
Right outside the Malden Projects, there was Roller Town, Roller Skating, Roller Skating USA.
Roller Palace was the one in Saugus. Oh no, Roller World was in Saugus. Roller Palace was in Beverly.
Okay, and then
there was another Roller
something.
Roller 22-year-old guys trying to pick up 14-year-old chicks world.
Yeah, Skate Town USA, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
That there was something in Malden that was a place that was just, it was going to be trouble. on
Kerry,
a Friday night.
and Chris Taylor both worked for Skate Town. James Forbes says Skate Town. It's Jamie.
Skate Town.
Skate Town, USA.
Nice.
Kerry and Chris Taylor both worked for Ames. Yes, yeah. I worked for Zare, so I worked for the cooler Ames.
I worked at Marshall's, so I was a little more upscale than you commoners.
Murphy.
Yes.
How about Leachmere?
That's German for lick me, you know that.
That wouldn't surprise me. They were founded in 1913, closed in 1997. At one point, they had 27 stores. Leachmere was basically Best Buy before Best Buy was Best Buy.
Hi, Abigail.
They had lots of appliances, lots of electronics, and they were also at the Liberty Tree Mall.
Yes.
Was Leachmere, and it was this massive store, and then they downscaled it to like about a third of the size. And then once Best Buy started popping up in Circuit City and all those other big box retailers,
Oh, yeah.
that spelled the end for Leachmere.
Tweeter for times like these.
And then remember Nobody Beats the Whiz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that basically was a store that took
That was
regular
like-
everyday electronics, overpriced them, like ridiculously overpriced them, and had these massive marketing campaigns and got people to buy stuff that they could have bought at Sears for 25% less.
Testa just said Wheels Plus in Revere. That was down in the back near Northgate. Yeah.
Abigail Daly.
That's
Something
my
with your name on
That's my my niece.
it. Nice.
She said, "Hi, Goddad." She's my godchild.
I thought you meant, hi, God damn it. Thought it was a mistype.
So I said, "Hi, Abby."
Hello, Abigail. Wheels Plus in Revere.
That's the one that was down behind Northgate. That Testa mentioned.
I was going to say it'd have to be a gearhead to mention a store like that.
No,
I
it was a skating.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a
Skating rink. Mm-hmm.
Chris Taylor's mother worked for Leachmere.
Talk about trouble. Not Chris Taylor's mother. Wheels Plus.
Wheels Plus. Don't remember. It sounds like a fucking gearhead store.
My mother. No one remembers Almies? I don't know what Almies is.
I have no idea. Almies. Never heard of it.
It was probably in Winthrop, and it was probably one location. And it was probably in 1955. What's
Could be.
Almies? What about DeSalle in Somerville in Winter Hill?
Somerville.
Yeah. Slummerville?
What about Woolworths?
What about Woolworths?
Woolworths, also known as the Five and Dime stores, were also Woolworths.
Yep.
They had the lunch counter.
Counter.
People went there to eat more than anything. They were founded in 1879.
That's
this is the oldest store that we have on here.
Why they are America's first store for low prices.
Woolworths closed in 1997, so the Five and Dime stores and the Woolworths stores were owned by the same corporation. It was like the J.C. Woolworth Corporation or something like that. They
HL. Yeah.
two initials Woolworth.
Two initials Woolworth.
They are technically not out of business, and I'm willing to bet almost everyone in here has shopped at a modern-day Woolworth store. What is the modern-day Woolworths? They were bought by Foot Locker in 1974.
Really?
74 Foot Locker bought Woolworths.
That's a big shoe department.
So, yes. Foot Locker, still in business.
Worst store name? Athlete's Foot.
Athlete's Foot.
Why would you go in there? Still in business, huh?
Tello's.
Oh, Tello's.
Yeah, so Chris, there was a Woolworths in Lynn on Boston Street, right where Stop and Shop opened up. So before it was Stop and Shop, it was a Woolworths, or it was right next door to Woolworths. But there was one on Boston Street, and I used to go there all the time.
Jamie just told my mother, Joan, that he remembers Almies, but I don't know why I don't. I'm sure she took me there and left me in a hot car for 4 hours in the summertime.
Becky, a lot of my patients will tell me stories about segregation at Woolworths. Black people were not allowed to eat at their lunch counters.
This
that
is
was
true.
Very true. It was one of the more infamous things that people knew about Woolworths is that colored people were not allowed to eat at the Woolworths lunch counters. It was really bad.
That sucks.
And that lasted a long time.
Yeah.
And it got really ugly. And that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't survive, because that bullshit doesn't fly.
Right. Because if it lasted that long, that lunch counter became the dinner counter.
Yes.
And then you still couldn't sit there.
You still couldn't. Bob Krause, Woolworths, the dollar store of the day. Exactly.
Yep.
Cheap stuff.
The Five and Dime.
Yep, Five and Dime. I remember my mother used to go to the Five and Dime that was down on the Lynn Commons all the time, and that's where we always got our sneakers, was at the Five and Dime, because you could buy a pair of sneakers for like $5.
Yeah, and you
They
wouldn't.
were like
you'd,
no name Adidas.
Jocks.
J-O-X,
Jocks.
That's probably what they
and
were.
you'd buy the matching socks.
Yeah.
SOX
Yeah.
socks. It's true.
Woolworths was next to Brigham's. Yes, Bob. Right,
Yes.
Right on Boston Street in Lynn.
My wife worked there. That's a fact.
But technically, Woolworths still exists.
Yeah.
As Foot Locker.
Still turning black people
And
away.
And I didn't know that until I did the research. I had no idea.
You do research?
I do.
I thought you just press buttons.
Yes, I do that too. Rich's Department Store, another place that I worked at. I worked at the one on Highland Ave. Was up until I started working at Sylvania. It was the longest job I ever had. I worked there for like 19 or 20 months.
If we weren't going to get sued on YouTube, I'd say Q, I've been everywhere, man.
Yes.
I've been everywhere.
I had, my mom can attest to this, Eric Testa can attest to this, from the time I was 18
Say that
years
10 times
old
fast.
until I was 20, those 2 years, actually 3 years, 18, 19, and 20, I had over 40 jobs.
40 job, man!
I could get hired, and not at the same time. I could get hired anywhere. I went in, I
Except for
pulled my hair back in a
Christie's.
ponytail. I worked at Christie's.
Except,
he gave me
wait,
the job.
Except you got escorted out by the Saugus police.
That was when I got the job at Christie's. I went back to Zaire to confront the manager that gave me the bad reference. I quit, and he told them that he fired me. And I'm like, you can't fire me. I quit, but I had already quit. And it was like a month before I got the job at Christie's, and I listed Zaire as a reference where I had last worked. They called. They said, "Yeah, we fired him." I don't remember why, but we fired him. So I went in and confronted him. And
He's dead now.
What year did your wife work at Brigham's? Bob worked there in 1982.
Oh, I want to say 1971, 72. Renata, if you're watching, tell us when you worked at Brigham's. God damn it.
Yes, Kerry, she knows. I had like 40 jobs. Every time you talk to me, you're like, where are you working now? Like once a month, you would ask me where I was working because I worked at Bickford's, Bennigan's, Spud's, Bertucci's, the General Glover House, the Ground Round, the Cabaret, Sears Credit Central, Eastern Steel Shank,
Moose and Squirrel Show,
Landscaping, Easy Landscaping. Every week I had a different job.
Wow.
Just one after another. I never had a problem with getting hired. But yeah, Eric Testa, over 40 is true. He was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Another job?
Wow.
Job.
Nice.
I'd just walk in. I was very well spoken. I gave all the right answers. I always went in with my resume printed out on a piece of paper. People were impressed by that, even as long-haired, freaky people need not apply. This long-haired, freaky people had no problem with getting a job.
Awesome.
None whatsoever. Even when the economy sucked, I still got myself a job.
Cool.
When I worked at Rich's Department Store in Highland Ave. They were founded in 1962 by Jerry Rich, who previously had Jerry's Army Navy. There was one in Salem and one in Malden.
Yep.
And it was basically an Army Navy surplus store that he had. He was a Russian immigrant and Russian Jew. Surprised Jewish guy on a department store. Imagine that. I never owned a department store.
Left Russia with a bunch of military surplus gear.
Exactly. And he opened Jerry's Army Navy at 2 locations, and then he opened Rich's Department Store. They, at one point, had over 28 locations. I worked at the one on Highland Ave from late 89 to 90 to 91. Because my senior year of high school, I got early work release. I played football. And
you were in prison?
I could get... I went to Lynn English High School. It's kind of like a prison.
Oh.
I played football, and I got an opportunity. You could get early work release. You could get out of school at noontime if you had a full-time job. So Rich's offered me full-time hours.
Nice.
So making a whopping $5 an hour, I could either continue to play football or I could work full-time at Rich's. I chose to work full-time at Rich's. I quit like 2 months later. And the football team, 1991 Lynn English High School Bulldogs, went undefeated, played Case High School in the Division 1A Super Bowl and lost. So I was upset till they lost. Sorry, guys. I was actually happy that you lost, because otherwise I would have walked away from another season. They wouldn't have lost if I had still been on the team, by the way.
Speaking of football and military surplus stores, there was a military surplus store on Ferry Street in Malden called G.I. Joe's, and this guy had all kinds of good stuff, and it was a fun place to go in when you were a little 5th grader. And
read your mom's comment. Okay. She said...
Brigham and Friendly's merged to become Frigham's. Frigham home at Brigham.
Rich's was kind of like a Target. It was, they had 28 stores and mostly clothing, but they had toys, they had hardware, they had housewares. They didn't sell any appliances. You could buy like an air conditioner and small stuff like that, but they didn't have like refrigerators, stoves, washers, dryers. They didn't have like those major appliances, but pretty much everything else. And they did well for many years, and then once Walmart came in, it was the casualties of Walmart.
He didn't have a dishwasher, so he wasn't married.
Yeah, Eric Testa worked at Rich's and got banned.
I can only imagine why.
And there were two back in the 70s in Golden Square. Army Navy was the name of one. Very cool store. Yep, Jerry's Army Navy. Good stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that, Jerry's Army Navy, was across the street from another Army Navy store. It was on Main Street, and there was one Jerry's, and then there was another one right across the street, or 2 doors down from it. I can't remember, but yeah, they were still there when I moved there in 1980.
Bob Krause worked at Rich's for one day and got fired.
I worked at McDonald's for 3 days.
I couldn't get hired at McDonald's. With all the jobs I could get, McDonald's was around the corner from my house. I applied there probably 30 times and never even got a phone call.
It was the hair.
I got jobs at tons of restaurants. I couldn't get hired in fast food. It's probably the only type of job I've never held is a fast food job.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yes. Yep. Blanche, exactly. They were opposite each other talking about the two Army Navy stores, I suppose. Yep.
Well, was one Stan's and the other was Jerry's? I can't remember. I see these old photos on this here internet site here.
When I quit Rich's department store, because I had gotten the early work release, so I would go in early, and I would get in at like 11 o'clock, and I was a stock boy.
Okay.
I don't suppose that's a PC term anymore. It's probably stock person.
It's probably
stock they.
It's a shelf item coordinator now or some shit.
And one of my jobs as a stock person, one of your jobs where you had to collect carriages.
Yep.
So I've said this a million times. You give your kid a job collecting carriages, he'll get a real job because he doesn't want to do that for the rest of his life.
Put some hair on his balls.
But I came in one day and it was pouring rain and there were no carriages in the store. So I went to the front end manager and I said, "Can you call Daryl and Daryl?" There were two guys named Daryl that were stock boys during the day. And I said, "Can you call Daryl and Daryl and have them do carriages?" It was pouring out. I had just got in, and
Vinny Barbarino.
No problem.
That's
and
2 Daryls.
She paged Daryl to the lot for carriages.
And the other one showed up.
Nope. And about 30 seconds later, Paul Erickson, who was the store manager, got over the speaker and he said, "Jim Holcomb to the lot for carriages." Went into his office. I said, "It's pouring out. I just got here. I'm here to close. I'm not going out and getting carriages. Send one of the doofuses out." And he said, "Nope, you'll get your ass out there and go get carriages." And I said, "No, I won't." And I went about my regular duties, and about 20 minutes later, I hear another page come over the intercom that said, *60. That's how you did the intercom at Rich's. And Mr. Erickson said, "Jim Holcomb to the lot for carriages. Jim Holcomb to the lot for carriages." I went over and I went *60. Paul Erickson to the lot for carriages. Paul Erickson to the lot for carriages. And then right after that, there was a page that came up and said, "Jim Holcomb to the office." And I went right into the break room where you punched in it. I grabbed my time card, I punched out, and I wrote "fuck you" on the time card and put it on top of the time card machine, grabbed my coat and left. That was the end of my career at Rich's.
There you go.
They called and begged me to come back, and I wouldn't. I'm like, no, fuck him. He did it to bust my balls, and I didn't care. I was like, nah, I quit.
How the hell with him.
Bob Krause's mom bought school clothes at Jerry's. They had your size, extra large, and slightly irregular.
No, that's just describes him completely.
Exactly. But Krause was here last night. I hung out with Bob. He came up. We had lunch.
Nice.
At Little East Dairy Tavern visit.
Good to see you, pal.
Hung out here for a little while. He came up. My cousin Kim came up as well. The two of them were here.
Oh, yeah, I saw she wrote something about going to her happy place.
Happy
That's
place,
awesome.
yeah.
Good for you. Nice. I like
Yeah,
it.
so that was my I quit Rich's story.
All right.
I like stories.
12 hours later.
Blockbuster Video.
What a difference.
Founded in 1985, closed in 2014, and at one point they had over 9,000 stores. 9,000 stores.
That's a
Blockbuster.
lot of videos.
That's a lot of videos. The irony of Blockbuster is they had a chance at one point to buy Netflix for $30 million, and they said, streaming videos. Ha! Nobody's going to do that.
We have real stores. Ah, you dum-dums.
How'd that work out, Blockbuster? There was a Blockbuster in Lynn right around the corner from my house, and they never had videos in stock. Every time you went there, a new movie would come out, and you would have to wait 2 or 3 months to get it because they just were. They would have 30 or 40 copies of it, and they were just constantly selling out. But they didn't give a shit because they had so many customers that wanted to rent the movies that they would never increase. So we went to a lot of the smaller mom and pop video rental stores and never really went much to Blockbuster.
Yeah, Avenue Video.
Yep, Chris Taylor talked. Yep, always empty shelves on Boston Street. You went in and they had all the cases. You turn the case around, you bring it up to the counter, and they'd be like, "Nope, sorry, don't have that. Nope, sorry, don't have that." So they never had anything, and they didn't have porn. What kind of video store doesn't have porn? That's the real reason they went out of business. Where's the adult section?
When VCRs became a hot item in, what, 82, 83?
Yep.
My dad went down to Avenue Video and bought a lifetime membership, and it was something outrageously crazy, because who knew at the time when new technology comes out what it's going to be, you know?
Right.
And I'm sure some other people can relate to this. And it was like $150 for a lifetime membership. And it's like, oh, well, you know, hey, why not? And then 6 months later, you know, Hollywood Video would open up or whatever the fuck, and it's like, you know, all right, membership, $5.
Yep.
Whatever the hell. And it was like,
what
the
because
hell?
They knew they couldn't compete with Blockbuster.
But there was no Blockbuster then. Blockbuster hadn't moved to the town yet. There was only they were the only game in town.
What was it called?
Avenue Video.
Avenue Video. Okay.
It was on Eastern Ave in Malden, and they opened in a small little hut, and then they moved next door to this fucking huge building because they didn't know how big it was going to be. It was huge.
Right after I got married, there was a small video store in Peabody, and me and Karina were living on Washington Street, and this place was like a half a mile walk, so a lot of times we would just walk over there or we'd drive over there, and we could never remember the name of the store, and everybody in Peabody called it Puerto Rican Video. Puerto Rican people that ran the store, everybody called it Puerto Rican Video, and they always had the movie that you wanted to get, and they had a porn section. But they always had the movie that you were looking for. It was a little small mom and pop type place. Never went to Blockbuster because they always treated us well. A lot of times
it was a little U.S. territory store off of Washington.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was, like I said, it was a really small store, and you could actually, if you called Blockbuster and said, "Oh, do you have Star Wars in stock?" They would always tell you yes, and then you'd get there and they'd be like, "Oh, somebody must have taken it." "Oh yeah, 20 minutes ago somebody rented it out." I'm like, "I called you 5 minutes ago. I live like 2 minutes from here."
Yeah.
But they would always tell you they had it because they knew once you went in the store you were going to end up renting something,
getting something else.
Home.
Of course they did.
So you would call the little Puerto Rican video store.
Yep.
You would call them and you would ask, and they would be like, "Nope, don't have it. Somebody's got it. They're supposed to bring it back tomorrow." And I'd be supposed to bring it back tomorrow. And I'd be like, "When you get it, can you hold it for me?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, no problem, Yames."
Bodega Buster
no problem,
Video.
James.
Wow, what a difference.
Blanche and Becky both said they think they still have their Blockbuster card. So if you ever get carded and you don't have your ID on you, just show them your Blockbuster card.
I got one.
Yes, you still have your Blockbuster card?
Hmm?
I actually think I had it, and I probably threw mine away a couple of years ago.
I posted it on Instagram a couple years ago, and I said, "Look, I found a dinosaur in a drawer in my home."
Jeremy says the Blockbuster in Tennessee had a porn section. Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah, but
they
sister and brother porn don't count.
Cousin porn. My cousin Vinny gave it a whole new meaning.
My cousin in me. Ugh.
East Somerville had a video store across from Corey's State Spa back in the day, with the red curtain up for the back room where the X-rated movies were. A place was grimy.
There was one in Reading called One Video Place. There was Hollywood Video on Route 1. There was Avenue Video, like I said, in Malden. There was, and then you start seeing Redbox pop up, and you go,
Karen LaBelle, hello.
Then you say, all right, this Redbox business is doing something. Didn't Netflix buy Redbox or Net?
I think they did, yes.
Oh, they were competing.
And there's still some Redbox around, but you don't even see most of those because everybody's streaming now. Nobody wants to leave their house.
There's still one in front of Speedway.
There's one in front of the CVS up here as well.
Ah.
But there are still some around. Video Craze. Yes. That's another one. There was tons of them, and there was so many of the mom and pop ones. There was one at Brookstone Plaza, which is where the Strawberries was. Little foreshadowing there, Strawberries.
Was that a
Brookstone
farmer's
Plaza,
market or something?
And I can't remember. Nope, definitely not.
Oh.
But Circuit City.
Oh yeah.
Circuit City.
I like the way they built the buildings to look like a
plug.
A plug.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
was
was
looking
founded
for-
in 1949 as Ward's Company, closed their last store in 2009. At one point, they had over 600 stores.
That must have been part of Montgomery Ward, which is one of the early Sears and Roebuck and Montgomery Ward, some of the earliest department stores.
Yep, but the Circuit City was everywhere. It was basically Best Buy before Best Buy.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And there was no reason for Best Buy to take them over other than Best Buy just had better service
And better
and
prices.
better pricing. And Circuit City had expanded so quickly over a short period of time that they were under a mountain of debt, and that was what allowed Best Buy to charge lower prices.
Yep.
And that's why Best Buy took them over, and all the Circuit City stores are...
Because people wanted Hewlett-Packard, not Compaq with
Yes.
a Q computers.
At Bob Kraus said he worked at Papagino's at Brookstone Plaza. Yep.
Papagino.
Blanche, Miss Circuit City, got some great deals there, especially after Leechmere sales closed. Yeah, Leechmere was one that was put under by Circuit City, and then Circuit City was done away by Best Buy. Up here in Salem, New Hampshire, there was a Circuit City, and a Best Buy opened right across the street. Didn't even take a year before the Circuit City was under.
And that's the way it goes.
Jamie Forbes says the Circuit City store is still there in Somerville with the logo on it, and it's faded there.
Yep.
If you go onto YouTube, you can find abandoned stores, and there's tons of the abandoned Circuit Cities everywhere with the big giant plug at the doorway.
Yeah.
There's tons of them all over the place because they, a lot of the stores they didn't sell. They kept the properties. And
The one in Saugus was there for the longest time because instead of that one, they put, the one in the Marshalls Plaza right after Kelly's, right next to Kelly's.
Yeah.
They put Best Buy in the Square One Mall, so they weren't going to put a Best Buy in, right up the street.
And Best Buy was smart because most of their stores are not standalone; they're anchor stores at a mall.
Yeah.
And that's what another thing that Best Buy did that was smart.
North Shore
Circuit
Mall,
City,
same thing.
Yep, the Circuit City went out and had all independent stores. They didn't have a lot that they don't have any that I was aware of. Not saying they didn't, but almost every time you saw a Circuit City was a standalone store.
That's
so
right.
They owned the store. They had to maintain the property and everything, which made it more expensive. Where you're an anchor store at a mall, you're just renting out the space, leasing the space.
You know the biggest property owner in the United States?
China.
Well, all right, we could look that up, but
McDonald's.
it is
McDonald's. I was gonna say
McDonald's.
McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts.
That's where they make their money.
Chris Taylor couldn't walk into a Circuit City without a sales clerk from every department asking if they can help you get the fuck away from me. That's because they were commission sales. At one point, the Circuit City people were commission sales, and they mobbed you when you walked in the door. It was like, there's a place up here called Bob's Discount Furniture, and their salesmen used to be commission sales.
Yeah, and they're terrible.
You walked in the door, and there was always someone standing there with the clipboard as you went to walk in the door, and they would take you and follow you. You'd be like, nope, I'm just looking, and they would still follow you around the store.
Yep.
They wouldn't leave like a lost fucking puppy.
And point you to the cookies and say you can have whatever you want. Take some fruit juice, take some coffee,
Yes.
have a cookie.
Yep. Jamie, Lisa is my sister. Lisa Ann Holgren. Yeah, Chris Taylor says he thinks China is the correct answer. So who owns the most? The U.S. company that owns the most
Well, yeah.
is McDonald's. But
Right.
I think China owns.
But McDonald's was smart. They bought the property
Yep.
before they franchised it,
Correct.
and they own everything.
The Ground Round, another place I worked at. This is mostly New England.
Ground round, get around, I get around, yeah, ground round, get around.
Founded in 1969, closed their last one in 2004.
69,
Yes,
nice.
Nice. I worked at the one on Route 1 in Saugus. I also worked at the one in Salem on Highland Ave. At one point, they had 59 stores. Technically, there are still 15 Ground Round locations open, but they are not part of the original corporation. What happened when they... At one point...
And the food's still sitting under the heat lamps.
Yes.
Okay. And the popcorn's still on the table.
Lone Star Steakhouse was...
Oh, the saloon.
They were like a southeastern restaurant chain, and they wanted to move into the Northeast. So they approached the Ground Round, and they said, hey, we'll buy a lot of your underperforming restaurants, but we want some of your top restaurants as well. So we'll buy all the shitty ones that aren't doing any good, but you got to give us some of the good ones. So they got Danvers, which is now a 99's. They got...
You're right.
Route 1, which is the one that I worked at, which is now a bank. They got a whole bunch of the good stores and then all of the bad stores, and then every one of the Texas fucking shitty place there.
Lone Star Saloon.
Lone Star, yep, and they all went out of business because they were fucking terrible.
You know what they used to do, though? Almost like the Stumble Inn. You could get a bucket of beer at the Lone Star Saloon at your table.
Peanuts and cold beer. Sean Smith, China owns 2% of all U.S. farmland.
All right.
Peanuts and cold beer. That was when the Ground Round first opened. That's what they were famous for, was the peanut shells all over the floor. They stopped doing that by the time I worked there, but that was their thing. Like
Stephen Colbert?
Texas Roadhouse. Now, when you walk in, they used to. Now they don't because everybody with their peanut allergies. But they used to have the big bucket of peanuts when you walked in the door. Now they have little bags of peanuts.
Yeah, you could throw the peanut shells on the floor at the Lone Star Saloon.
The Ground Round was the same.
That was one of those places that Dominic and I would go to. We'd be out cruising around on our motorcycles, and we'd go sit at the bar at the Lone Star while it was there. It was fun.
Yeah, peanut shells on the floor, and old horror movies would play in the Ground Round in Danvers. Absolutely.
And the one in Stoneham at Redstone became the Piccadilly Pub for a very short time, and the one in North Reading, where Walmart is on 28, became the Piccadilly Pub for a very short time, and now it's Joe Fish, and the Piccadilly Pub had closed, and the 99 was going to move in there, and then they moved up the street right at the exit to 128 there. Yeah, so that's some fun Ground Round
Chris
trivia.
Daly, if you want to wage war nowadays, you just need a loaf of bread and a bag of peanuts.
True.
Fresh Pond Circle every Friday night at Ground Round for pregame weekend benders. I worked at the Ground Round, and they used to have the dollar drafts. And I would sit, I dated the bartender when I worked there, Don Hinksman, and I would sit right in front of the taps, and I would just slide my glass underneath and just tweet, tweet, and would drink free beer all night. Sorry, Walter Pomelo, if you're watching. He's probably not watching, but yeah, he was the manager there. I used to steal beer from there all the time. That's why you weren't making any money on your dollar drafts, and you were making less because I sat at the bar.
And that's why you install security cameras, folks.
Pewter Pot in Danvers across from Denny's. Yes, I remember that place.
Yep, and the one right on Squire Road in Revere, right at the circle there by where Valleys used to be.
Yeah. I love the Ground Round, and it was a very successful restaurant chain, but when they sold out to the Texas Lone Star, when they sold out to them, that just, people thought that they went out of business, and it just affected them across the board, and they never recovered. So there are still 15 stores, independent stores. Yeah. Basically, all the employees got together, and when they were going to close, they bought up all the stores. So there's 3 in Maine, like Minnesota. There's a bunch of them that are still open, but it's not part of. That's why I included it on here, because they're not part of the original Ground Round. And I still have one of my Ground Round T-shirts.
Nice. If I was driving,
it doesn't fit, but I still have it.
If I was driving, and I don't care where I was going, I don't care if I'm going to a wedding or a funeral or whatever the hell, and I'm driving through Maine or Minnesota or wherever the fuck, and I saw a Ground Round, I'm pulling over.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an hour late for whatever the event is because I'm going to the fucking Ground Round.
I wonder if I used to
the green and white checkerboard paper, or was it black and white or green and white?
Green and white.
Green and white.
What got me hooked on the Ground Round and what got me hooked on chicken wings? The Ground Round had the best fucking wings. You got 10 wings for like $6. You got 10 wings.
Ooh.
You got 20 wings for like $14. You got a meal as a cook, and I would get 20 wings every fucking time, and I would cook them and then put them in the sauce. And then put them under the heat lamp so the sauce would kind of bake onto the wing. Oh.
Jamie just had a good one. And it's like, I don't know how this person morphed into what became Bob's Furniture, but Dean's Home Furniture.
Yep.
You think you can find a better deal? I doubt it. Jamie, great pull. I like that.
And that's Bob's Discount is now stealing that line.
There was a Dean's Home Furniture in Malden Square, and I walked through there once and went, am I going to buy anything here? I doubt it. And it became Bob's Discount Furniture's thing.
Yep, they got Bob stores all over New England.
Yeah.
Toys R Us. This also includes Babies R Us, Kids R Us, and We Be Toys.
That's the one in Detroit.
That's yes.
That was in a movie.
That was in a movie, yes. I forget where that came from.
All right.
Founded in 1948, closed in 2017. It still operates in Europe and Canada, though. So there are still some stores out there, but in the U.S., they are defunct.
Yeah, they're starting them back up again.
Yes, they're trying to. The company, after they went bankrupt, they tried to redo it online for a while. That didn't work, and they're trying to get back into opening up some of their stores.
Remember when toy stores were everywhere?
Yep. Oh, yeah, Child World.
KB.
Chris Taylor just mentioned it. Yep. All the toy stores.
Oh, Child World was heaven. I loved that place. Toys R Us.
That was definitely heaven for a kid. You would just walk in there like this.
Yep. And all you heard was, no,
put it back,
no,
no.
put it back, no. We're here for a specific. We're buying. The cruelest thing to do to an 8-year-old
is to take him to birthday shopping for someone
else.
Yes, my mother used to do that all the time. She'd be like, "Yeah, we're buying your cousin a new bike," and I'm like, "What about my bike? My bike's like 30 years old. When am I getting a new bike?" "Oh yeah, we're getting your cousin a new bike for his birthday."
And you're like, all right, that's fine. Get him a bike, but you stop in the action figure aisle or the GI Joe aisle, and you're like,
I want a couple GI Joes while we're here.
That's not what we're here for. Fuck.
So my funny child world story. I get stories from everywhere. I was probably 12 years old, and I was in there with my mother. And Bob Stanley, pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, was in the store, and I'm like, "Oh, the fucking steamer!" And I'm like, "Ma, I want his autograph. Give me a pen. Give me a pen." Pulled a pen out of her purse, and I pulled out. They had those little cards that stuck on the aisle. That's sale $12.99. I grabbed one, and it was blank on the back. And I went up and I said, "Hey Bob, can I get your autograph?" And he goes, "Hey, sure. You got a pen?" And I gave him the pen and the piece of paper. And as he was signing it, and I go, "What do you think? You gonna blow another 20 saves this year or what?" He looked at my mother. He looked at me, and he ripped the autograph in half, and he handed it back. And he said, "Here you go, kid." And he looked back at my mom. She goes, "That's what you get for being a little jerk." And I cried in child world.
I would have just not said anything.
That's a fucking loudmouth smartass as a fucking 12-year-old, too. Becky, I met Cisco and Ed McMahon at Toys R Us once. Weirdest autograph signing I've ever been to. Yes, Chris Taylor.
Was Ed McMahon wearing a thong? Thong? That is the oddest autograph signing.
Chris Taylor was fortunate enough for Toys R Us to still be around when my daughter was younger. Yep, my kids still got to enjoy Toys R Us. Kids today don't know what they're missing.
Right.
Everybody wanted to be a Toys R Us kids.
Wild.
And then they did Babies R Us, and they did Kids R Us, and it was just they way overstretched themselves.
Oh yeah.
And that was that's what did them in.
Yep.
Now, Strawberries Records and Tapes.
Oh, I love this place.
So I tried to find information on Strawberries, and there wasn't a whole lot other than they were bought by FYE, which was at every fucking mall. They had the For Your Entertainment stores.
Yep.
They bought Strawberries Records and
They
Tapes.
also bought Record Town. They bought Sam Goody.
Yep, they bought a lot of the record stores.
There was another one. And they're all defunct now.
Yep. Newberry Comics was another one.
They're still in business,
There's not many stores left, but there are still some Newberry Comics.
Yep, and they're hanging on.
Strawberries Records and Tapes. I stole more tapes out of Strawberries than I bought. I had a friend that worked there.
Me too.
He would unplug the alarm, the one on Boston Street. He would unplug the alarm for me, and I would load up my coat with the big fucking giant plastic sleeves they had around the cassette tape.
Remember the long box CD cases?
Yep.
Back when they had those.
Yep.
All you had to do was unmagnetize the whisper tape, and you were out the door. Sunday mornings before they opened, I had it in as well. Yep. You go in at 8 a.m. They opened at noon because of the blue laws. You go in and you're like, all right, this is fun. I got Junkyard, I got Bang Tango, I got Love Hate, I got fucking LA Guns. I'm out the door. Have a good week. We'll see you next Sunday.
Blanche Strawberries on Washington Street downtown. Bob Krause, 5 Floors of Music on Boylston Street. That was the last store that closed. That one closed in 1997. It was the last one that closed.
Jamie Forbes.
Rocket Records, yes.
Best record store in history.
I never stole anything from that store.
Nope.
I always bought from that store. They were on Route 1, and you could sell your old cassettes and CDs to them. They would buy them.
Yep.
You could trade them in to get new stuff. So if you bought something like Bang Tango or all that other crap that you bought, you could return it when you realized it sucked.
Oh, come on.
Eric
Junkyard
Tesla's
was
going to stick up for you on Bang Tango, but I'm not.
Junkyard was awesome.
Newberry Comics in the Mall in Salem, New Hampshire. Is it still around? I know that there are still some Newberry Comics
They
stores.
took the freestanding stores and put them in malls.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Rockingham Mall still has one.
Yeah, but Rocket Records was the absolute best.
I love that because you could talk music with the dude behind the counter.
Yep.
And he always wanted to hear your stories, and he would tell you stories.
And if you were a local band, you could
put your flyers up, and
they would sell your demo tapes.
That's
as well.
right.
Yeah, you
I
could
remember
put them in
that.
there, and I forget. It's not commission. What's the fucking word I'm looking?
Consignment.
You could bring them up there, and you would bring 20 tapes, and you would put them up there, and they would put them in the rack. And when people bought them, you could go back, and you had to do your own inventory for it. But you put 20 tapes up there. You went back, and you said, "Hey, there's only 16 left," and they'd pay you for the 4. So as a local band, it was a way to get your music out there.
So much wheeling and dealing there. And they had a free pile. You remember the free pile on the way out?
Yep.
There was a little box right by the front door, and it said free, and there was always a Poison album in there, or
Decline and Fall of the Western Civilization Part 2 was always in there. Always. Every time you went in there, there was that was in there on cassette, and that had Motorhead, it had Rigor Mortis, it had a bunch of really cool songs on it on the soundtrack.
Yep.
And I probably got like 10 of them from there because I would always lose it or let somebody borrow it.
Under My Wheels from Alice Cooper with Axl Rose singing the lead vocal, and London and from Nader de Priest. Great fucking record.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There were 2 to 3 record stores in Davis Square, Somerville. Can't remember the name of any of them. Somerville. Davis Square. Come on.
Kenmore Square, I remember Nuggets, and I remember...
Somebody mentioned Coconuts before.
Coconut. Oh,
Second Coming Records in Harvard Square was
Second Coming. Oh my God, I love that place. I'd take the train there just to go browse. Nuggets in Kenmore Square, and there was another one. It was downstairs under, where the bums hit you up for money outside the bus stop when you go to Fenway Park.
Everywhere in Harvard Square.
Oh, Kenmore Square.
Kenmore Square. That was pretty much everywhere in Kenmore Square.
That's true.
All right, Bickford's going back to restaurants here, getting some food. Bickford's.
Bring
Eric
'em.
Testa, Bickford's. We lived at Bickford's.
Love a
We
Bickford's.
lived at Bickford's. Founded in 1921. The last restaurant closed in 2020. At one point, they had over 70 stores. There are technically still 2 Bickfords, but much like the Ground Round, they're independently owned, but there are still 2 Bickfords in operations today.
Cool.
But as the family restaurant, they are no longer in business. There was one up here in Salem, New Hampshire that we used to go to. Me and Eric,
It became Marianne's Diner,
Marianne's
right?
Diner.
Yeah.
That was a Bickford's.
Yep.
Me and Eric Testa, for probably 5 years of our life, lived at the Bickfords on Route 1 in Saugus. We were there
one in Wellington
3
Circle,
to 5 days a week.
right next to Strawberries, same parking lot.
We were always there till like 4 o'clock in the morning. The $1 bottomless cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I would always get the grilled cheese and tomato.
Love a grilled cheese and tomato.
Yeah.
Good
Who
God.
didn't go to Bickford's late night? Remember the cigarette machines? Yes, the old cigarette machines.
Yeah, that's the first time in the 80s and the 90s where you saw cigarettes over $10 a pack because those were fucking mob-run machines.
Yep. Yeah, Karina, she was honored to be brought. Maybe I brought her to the Bickfords on Route 1 when we first started dating. She got to meet all my degenerate friends. Bob Ellis, Eric Testa, Tree, Harry.
Nice.
All the degenerates I hung out with. You are not from the Northeast if you have never been to a Bickford shit-faced at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. And now they're like a restaurant. They're all class now. It's all, family.
Yep.
Well, they always said family style restaurants.
Julie Ellis, absolutely. Yep, forgot about her. Bickford's Best Potato Pancakes. I heard the daughter took it over and it's now running it into the ground. Yeah, there's 2 locations left. I don't know where they are, but it's not the corporation as it stands no longer exists. But there are still two restaurants in location.
Woburn on Montvale Ave, and Burlington on Middlesex Turnpike.
Okay, so there are still 2 Bickfords. The Big Apple was what they were famous for. Was this massive fucking pancake that you baked in the oven. I worked at the Bickfords in Vinnon Square and Swampscott. Another one of the jobs I mentioned at Bickfords earlier. I worked there, Vinnon Square. Worked there for about 8 months. I actually quit the General Glover House, and when I quit the General Glover House, I walked across the street to the Bickfords to use the payphone. I called my mother and asked her to come and get me because I didn't have my car wasn't on the road. I went inside and I said, "Hey, can I fill out a job application?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I filled out the application. The manager come out. He's like, "When can you start?" And I'm like, "Tomorrow." He's like, "Be here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock." My mother picked me up. I'm like, "I need you to bring me back here tomorrow morning at 9. She's like, "Why?" I said, "Because they just hired me."
That's family style.
Yeah, she was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Amy Forbes. I used to go to Bickford hammered so late it turned into Sleepfords. Yeah, see, now they would have been smart to kind of do like the old Howard Johnson Motor Lodge and have a place where you could have crashed because they would have made a fortune on all the drunks.
That's all right. I've gone to the 99 completely sober and been drug out of there looking up at the sign, and I'm leaving the 66.
Yeah, Bob says, "I don't think Bickford's and Woburn is the same company. I went once there and it did not have pancakes.
Well,
pancakes at a fucking Bickford."
Yeah, they don't open till like 11.
Yeah, Chris Taylor, late night at Denny's. Yeah, Denny's.
Who doesn't love diarrhea?
Yeah.
Come on.
Denny's is to breakfast what Taco Bell is to Mexican.
Yeah, I think
If you need your colon cleansed, go to a Denny's.
the doorknob to Denny's was the dirtiest thing I've ever touched in my life for some fucking reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they were always open 24 hours a day.
Yep.
That nobody had the time to go outside.
Bennigan's. Yes, I worked at Bennigan's too. Yes, I worked at Bennigan's on Route 1.
Bennigan's. I got a Bennigan story. Ex-wife and I sitting there in Bennigan's. Young kid waiting on us. We did our thing, blah, blah, blah. It's getting ready, time to close. We're sitting there. I want to go out and smoke, so I'm like, I'm going to go out and smoke. You just wait for the check, or if you go out and smoke, I'll wait for the check. I walk back in from smoking. I see our waiter sitting on a payphone, sitting on the floor, talking to what I assume his girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. We're accepting. And I'm like, this was after a half hour. After he said, anything else? No, we're good, just a check. Comes back over, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were going to run out of here without paying. I didn't bother coming back. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
Jeremy Cook Denny's in Danvers by that sketchy hotel.
Yes.
Yep. It was a Days Inn. Yeah, and I worked at Osram, Sylvania, right next door.
Right near the mobile station.
Yep.
Boom.
The Hilltop Steakhouse. Did you know that there were 5 Hilltop locations? Name them. Can't. Everybody knows the one on Route 1 Saugus.
I only know that one.
That's it. I didn't know there was 5 locations.
And the rat-infested butcher shop out back.
Yes. They was founded in 1961, closed in 2013, and they had 5 locations. I didn't realize that
I had
they had
no idea.
Frank Jafrida's Hilltop. So, funny story, I didn't work at the Hilltop.
Jamie, Denny's marinates everything in X-Lax butter. That's awesome. Thank you.
So I didn't work at the Hilltop, but Frank Jafrida at one point sold the Hilltop to 3 Jewish guys, one in a restaurant. Who knew? And I worked at my first cook job. I worked at a place called Yesterday's. It's now Capone's. And Yesterday's was owned by the same guys that bought the Hilltop.
No shit.
Yesterday's, it was like
Capone's theme?
It was like a 50s themed restaurant, and they said that's why it was named Yesterday's. I'm here to tell you the truth. The real reason why it was named Yesterday's is because the Hilltop would only serve fresh. So the Hilltop baked all of their own bread, all of their own rolls. They cooked all their prime rib and everything. When it was not fresh enough for the Hilltop, they sent it to Yesterday's. So everything that you ate at Yesterday's, they served at the Hilltop yesterday.
That's great.
That's really where the name came from.
That's really going out on a limb there and being like, hey, we're putting it right out there to you people, and you don't get it.
We would get all the time. We would come in on
yesterday's food.
We would come in on a Thursday, and they'd be like, yeah, we are doing a special on prime rib, $9.99 for 16-ounce prime rib, and we'd be like, holy shit, and they'd be like, yeah, we got 6 of them in from the Hilltop.
And a U-Haul pulls up out back, and some guy named Angelo is grabbing a fucking gray tray and just tossing them in the back door. That's awesome.
Yeah, Jeremy Cook's neighbors worked there till they closed. Blanche, remember waiting in line in the heat with my mom? At its peak, if you went to eat at the Hilltop, the line was out the door and it wrapped around the building and people would stand out there in the rain, in the snow, in the heat for hours and hours and hours to eat at the fucking Hilltop.
Yep.
It was one of the, if not the biggest steakhouse in the Northeast. It was just absolutely amazing. And it was really more like a family style. It wasn't like when you went inside, it wasn't like a fancy restaurant inside by any stretch.
Oh my God.
But the portions were huge. The food was fantastic. And if you went in there right before they closed, it still looked like it did in 1970. They never spent a dime updating the inside because they didn't have to. The restaurant was fucking slammed every fucking day. Every fucking day.
Last time I went there was, I can't remember the year, but it was the ex-wife and I.
Yep.
And we sat there in the, waiting to be called. And I'm looking around at all the 70s, accoutrements. And I said, and it's all old people, right?
Yep.
It's not a date spot. It's not a, and I looked around, I go, we're in God's waiting room right now. This is fucking heaven's waiting room. All these people around us are just waiting to, it's like Florida. Heaven's waiting room. Yeah.
If you ever went in there in like the early 90s before they closed, you'd think to yourself, wow, they must have spent a fortune on all this stuff to get it, making it look like from the 1970s. And they're like, no, they probably didn't spend anything on it in the 70s. When they fucking put it in, it's still here.
They just didn't update anything.
Some of the waitresses were as old as the decor, yes.
Yeah. And
JD, have you eaten at Brothers Restaurant next to Tony Brusso's A&B Music? I wash dishes there. That's from Jamie.
Oh, A&B, right there down in Malden Square. There's like 3, if I'm wrong now, I haven't been to Malden in a while, 3 like Vietnamese restaurants right there. But A&B music. We used to call it picks and sticks. You go in there and you buy your picks and you buy your sticks. That was, but no, I've never actually eaten there. I might have gotten in and had a coffee waiting for a bus, but I've never eaten there. That's fucking funny. A&B music. I forgot about that place. Holy shit. Picks and sticks.
So the people that bought the Hilltop ran it into the ground, and then Frank Giuffrida brought it back, and then he sold the property, and the sign is still there.
Yep.
So the sign was...
it's the Avalon now.
Yep. The sign is considered a historical landmark because of how long it was there and how huge that restaurant was for years. You know, and then people had mentioned earlier here, Valley Steakhouse. Valley Steakhouse on Route 1 was put under by these guys because you could go and sit at Valley's and get a steak right away.
Yeah.
You could wait 3 hours at the Hilltop, and people would wait 3 hours at the Hilltop. They wouldn't go to Valley's. They would wait at the fucking Hilltop.
It was considered class.
Yeah, classy.
I went to the
classy joint.
Fun
of classy broads.
Fun fact, when I actually had a license, not including the jobs I had when I didn't have a license, when I actually had a license, the first paycheck I got, I went to the Hilltop Butcher Shop and bought shaved steak, peppers and onions, and I went home and cooked myself a steak and pepper and onion sub with my first paycheck.
Nice.
I didn't spend the whole thing on a steak and pepper sub, mind you. It was just nice to have a car and my own money. And what am I going to do? I'm going to cook myself
cook myself my own food.
Yeah.
Blanche, yes, the Hilltop had the big cows out front, and at some point someone stole all the cows.
Yep.
And at another point, somebody went and took a chainsaw and cut the heads off of all the cows. And stole the heads as well. But
cow decapitation.
It was like a rite of passage for idiots to go and steal one of the cows from the Hilltop.
Yeah. Oh, and I told you, fun fact, my brother and his wife April, they had their wedding reception at the function room upstairs at the Hilltop, and the party favors, usually, it's usually like a flower fucking thing or whatever the hell, they gave Hilltop Steakhouse bottles of salad dressing to everybody. And what was left at my parents' house, they stored them there, was like 2 or 3 cases. Because they bought so much, to make sure everybody got one. And there was 2 or 3 cases. We had Hilltop salad dressing for months. It was fucking amazing.
Jamie Forbes, Whaley's on Route 1. Yes, that place was the size of the Vatican. They built Whaley's because of Kowloon's.
Yep.
And they built Whaley's, and it was this gigantic, majestic fucking place. Giant Chinese food restaurant. And it never really did well. It was the same thing. You would wait at Kowloon's and you could get right into Whaley's. Everybody went to fucking Kowloon's. Fuck Whaley's.
When touring bands were in town and celebrities and whatnot, they would be, they'd ask, where do we go for, some late night, Chinese food or cocktails or whatever? And they would always suggest Whaley's. And I heard people back then, this was way before the internet, obviously, and saying, fucking the other night, Skid Row was having fucking dinner at Whaley's, or Barbra Streisand and her entourage were up there, blah blah blah. Yeah, and then they tore it down. It became like the Golden Shower or the Golden Palace or the Golden Banana, whatever it was called. And then they just mowed the whole fucking place down. It's gone. Yeah,
they're putting condos up there now.
Okay, well, I'm shocked.
Yeah, shocking.
Oh shit.
Sean Smith, I want a copy of that video of Tommy Abbott humping the cows at the Hilltop. Kowloon's was better, absolutely. Billy Thompson, Kyle's Sausage Kitchen, also known as the biggest mafia front in the North Shore. That place on Route 1, Kyle's Sausage Kitchen, you could drive by that place a million times. There was the old fucking Lincoln that sat out front that never moved, and there was never another car in the parking lot, no matter how many times you ever drove by it. I believe it's still in business today, and you never see anybody there.
It's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Nobody ever goes in, and nobody ever comes out.
Let me see. Blanche's friends got married there. Whaley's. Yep, okay, so I got them. Karen LaBelle knew the owner of Whaley's. Wasn't the owner of Whaley's, wasn't that somebody that used to work or part own Kowloon's and they tried to do their own restaurant? I heard a story about that. I don't know if it was
the Wong family. No, I'm serious. It is the Wong family. I'm not joking.
No idea, but allegedly Kowloon's is going to be closing soon.
Yeah, I used to hang around at Nick's Comedy Stop all the time, like at fucking almost every night, like a pathetic amount of time. And there was a Asian dude in the kitchen serving beer to the, like the service bar, to the waitresses catering to the comedy club. So I went up to him and I'm like, "Oh, can I get a Bud Light?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was 17, so I grab it. I'm like, "All right, thank you." And I said, "Man, you guys are great. This fucking place is awesome. You're nothing like Waylu's up the street." He goes, "A fuck a Wayru."
Yeah, they hated that place.
Asian guy with a perm in a tuxedo. I'm like, that's why this was in 1991. I've never forgot that moment. Oh, fuck a Wayru.
Blanche said, "I think you're wrong about Waylu's and Kowloon's." Lily Wong's in Middleton. His sister owned. Who was that? The Waylu's people or the Kowloon's people that owned Lily Wong's? No idea.
Willy Wong.
All right, Photomat.
Oh,
Photomat.
Matt of
Founded in
photos.
1965, closed in 2009. Did you know that Photomat was a competitor of Blockbuster?
No,
Used
and
to
the
be
most
able to
shocking
rent-
part of this was that they closed in 2009.
2009.
Holy hell.
At one point, they had over 4,000 locations.
I'm not
one
surprised.
on Boston Street in the Stop and Shop parking lot, and there was always just this little hut in the middle of a parking lot. They never had like real stores. They would just have this little hut in the middle of the store. You dropped off your film and went back an hour later, and you had pictures.
Oof.
Photomat. And they were never air conditioned. It was just a hot sweat box that you sat in, making fucking $2.50 an hour.
FedEx did those in the early 80s based on Photomat. They used a lot of the discarded Photomat locations and made drive-through shipping centers, and those ended up going out of business. They failed. Not FedEx, but the things. And it was the same thing. You have some poor prick sitting in a non-air conditioned location at a former Photomat, dressed up to look like a FedEx place, and like sitting there waiting, like, all right, someone's gonna drop off a letter in a little while. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Karina, our first date was at Kowloon's. Yes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say first date was at Photomat. Jeez.
If they were open, I would have taken her there instead. Wait a week to find out if your photos sucked.
Yeah.
They used to lose all my mom's photos. I think there was a hit in Melrose. That 70 shows. Chong is the manager. Bill Nicosia. I don't know Bill Nicosia. Bill Nicosia used to work where? At Photomat? I know there was the one on Boston Street was the one that I remember because my mom used to go there and drop off stuff all the time.
I think if your mom's pictures ever got lost at a Photomat, she just told you that.
Probably.
She didn't show you the photos.
Yes, they were just that bad.
No, there was nefarious things going on that she
Yes.
did not want to share with you. That's all.
Cervix Merchandise.
Cervix Merchandise.
This was a weird store because they sold high-end jewelry and high-end electronics.
Yep.
And nothing else.
Yeah, and they had a conveyor belt that they brought your shit out. You bring your ticket, and you're like, hey, I'm the asshole with the
Yeah,
fucking...
you would go in and say, I want that TV, and they would give you the ticket. You would pay for it, and then you would go stand there, and the thing would come out on the belt, and you'd pick it up, and you'd leave with it.
Right. Yeah.
Yep, they had one at, it was one of the malls. I can't, it was
It's where the Square One is.
Yep, is that where it was?
Yep, it's right before... It was the Sears Shopping Plaza, right before... They tore down Service Merchandise and then built the Square One Mall.
Okay.
Because I bought Shauna's first infant crib mattress there in 1992. And, yeah, they were gone shortly after that.
Blanche said Service Merchandise in Twin City Plaza. What was the restaurant next door that all-you-can-eat buffet? Twin City Plaza. Who was that?
Manchester, I believe, isn't it?
Where's Twin City Plaza? We're lost.
Or Rhode Island?
Back in the 80s.
Twin City.
No, she's from Malden, I believe.
Where's the
Malden-ish.
Twin City Plaza?
Where was Twin City Plaza? Blanche, help us out. We don't know where the Twin City Plaza is. Cambridge. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Cambridge. Yeah, I know.
Wait,
where,
she's from Malden?
She's friends with Dom. That's how I know her.
Oh, Topping. Are you related to Mrs. Topping of Belmont School fame? Great teacher.
But, yeah, Service Merchandise. Basically, if you wanted to overpay for something and tell everybody that you bought it at Service Merchandise, that's where you went.
Yeah. They had everything.
I think I only went there once or twice. And it was always the fancy rich people. She's from Somerville, but she's lived over there, so Somerville.
Oh, okay.
Slummerville.
Remember Mars Music? Talk about stores that just came up, plastered their advertisements everywhere, and were gone within 2 years.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
That's what. When you said the Wiz,
Yep.
that reminded me of Mars
that
Music.
was one that plastered, and they were all over everything, and then they opened like one store and 2 stores in the Northeast, and they failed miserably.
Yep.
She's not sure about the teacher, but she'll check.
Okay, there was a Mrs. Topping in the early '80s at Belmont School on Cross Street, and that's how I recognize the name.
CompUSA.
Oh,
Founded in 1984, closed in 2007. At one point, they had over 229 stores.
oof.
So there was one in Danvers. It was in the parking lot of the Liberty Tree Mall.
Yeah.
That was where I bought my first computer. My father taught me how to build my own computer, so rather than buying one off the shelf. And I remember going in there and buying all the parts and components for the computer and built it myself.
It wouldn't be a first anniversary show if I didn't pee during the episode. Talk about CompUSA.
Yeah, so they were in the Liberty Tree Mall parking lot. That was the one that I knew of, but they had over 229 stores. And I wanted to buy my first computer. I had saved up like $600, and I wanted to buy my computer. And my father's like, go to CompUSA. And he gave me a list of everything that I needed to buy a computer at CompUSA. I went and bought the motherboard, I bought the processor, I bought some RAM, I bought a sound card, I bought a video card, I bought the box with the power supply. I got everything. I brought it home and I put it all together. By the time Jason Silva helped me put it together, my father was watching and he's just like, you're going to fuck it up. And I'm like, go away. So I ended up putting it all together, got it all working. I'm like, yeah, I plugged it in and I turn it on and the light comes on and it goes beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't buy a monitor. He gave me the list of everything I needed, no computer monitor. So I had to go back the next day and buy a computer monitor. And I didn't really have the money for the computer monitor, but I went in the next day and scraped up $250 and bought a computer monitor and built my own computer. Jamie Forbes, I ran into the owner of Chisholm Sports Store at Fresco's in Malden. He's still alive. Never heard of Chisholm Sports. He might know, but a little busy right now. But yeah, CompUSA, great computer store. Again, another one that Best Buy killed. Everything that you could buy at CompUSA, you could buy at Best Buy. Once Best Buy started coming up, they had the best pricing around, and they kind of put CompUSA around, and people just don't build their own computers anymore. It's like people changing the oil on their car. Nobody does it anymore. I'm surprised all the auto parts stores stay open, because people don't do that shit anymore. All right, moving on to the next one. No John here. We're going to stick with crappy electronic stores. Radio Shack. Founded in 1921, closed in 2017. There are still 110 or more independently owned and operated stores, but they're no longer part of the Tandy Corporation. Radio Shack. At one point, they had over 4,300 stores. And they basically... It was kind of weird because it was an electronic store, but it was more like buying electronic components if you wanted to fix your TV or fix your radio. They sold remote control cars and stuff like that.
Oh, I loved Radio Shack.
Late in their career, they teamed up with Sprint and started selling cellular phones and cell service. You okay now?
Anytime I ever had like an adapter to like a piece of music equipment or whatever go out, you buy the white 12 volt, and then you could buy adapters that fit the different size for the input. Loved Radio.
The Unabomber bought most of the stuff he made his bombs with at Radio Shack. You could pretty much build whatever you wanted to build. All the electrical components you ever needed, you could buy from Radio Shack. And it was an electronic store that again got swallowed up by the likes of Best Buy. People just stopped fixing their own stuff, and you couldn't buy any stuff there anymore. Yep, you could buy a new controller. If you had lost a remote control for your TV or a remote control for anything, you could go to Radio Shack, and they sold the universal remotes. They sold CB radios.
I was just going to say, we had a base CB...
Blanche wants to know if you washed your hands.
I'm just wiping them right now on my shorts. I was trying not to show anybody, but yes, I did wash my hands. See? Yeah, we had a base CB radio when I was a kid, and the antenna came from Radio Shack because it was a Sears thing, and it was fun to use. And I ended up talking to a bunch of kids that I knew. I mean, I was 10 or 11. A bunch of kids from my neighborhood without realizing it. They're on their CB fucking around and talking, and they're like, I was using the handle Murdoch. And they were like, where do you live? And I'm like, Belmont Hill. We didn't call it Belmont Hill. It was just the hill up the street from Belmont School. They're like, I know who this is. It was so funny. And the kid comes into school next day, looks at me during lunch. He goes, Murdoch. Fucking hilarious. CBs were fun. Radio Shack was fun.
Never had a CB radio.
Oh, you got to get one. You open it up now?
I'm gonna call
Go.
myself Cooter.
Yeah, cooties, whatever you want. But you go on it now. Nobody there.
Blanche wants to know what your radio handle was. Murdoch.
Yep, Murdoch.
Murdoch.
That was in 83 or 84 or something like that.
Yeah, my dad, when he owned his board-up business, had CB radios to talk between the trucks when they were out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So he would buy stuff from Radio Shack. He had a TRS-80, the Trash 80, the Tandy computer that was like the first home computers, a big, massive fucking box with the giant 10-inch floppy disks. And he had his TRS-80 that he bought from Radio Shack. So they were the original place where you went if you wanted to buy a computer.
Mm-hmm.
The TRS-80, the Trash 80.
Nice.
Yeah, outlived his life, much like Borders books.
Borders
Books. So when it started, it was Barnes & Noble and Borders. They were the two brick-and-mortar stores for books.
Mm-hmm.
Borders was founded in 1971, closed its last store in 2011, and at one point it had over 517 stores. And Barnes & Noble and Borders were, if you needed a book, that's where you went. And Amazon, everybody's bought something off of Amazon. Amazon originally started as an online bookstore, and they competed with Barnes & Noble and Borders. And Barnes & Noble did online as well as the brick-and-mortar stores. And Borders, much like Blockbuster, said, nobody's going to do that shit online. And that was the end of Borders. And that's why Barnes & Noble's still around, because they have a strong online presence for buying books. There's a brick-and-mortar store up here in Manchester. Yeah, books are stupid. Billy, I agree with you 100%. Can't be bothered to read a book. I haven't read a book in probably 20 years.
I went to Borders on the one in Peabody, across from the North Shore Mall, the second to their last day of operation to buy a book, and they fucking had it. I was in shock. It was 2011. Yep.
Karen LaBelle loved Borders books, yes. And it was Borders and Barnes & Noble. They were everywhere, and they were almost like copy-paste when you went in the stores. They looked almost identical. And Borders just didn't keep up with the technology, and Barnes & Noble's was doing online, and originally Amazon was just a bookstore. That's all Amazon was.
I love Barnes & Nobles.
Everything
I love
else.
going into Barnes & Nobles.
Carrie says most of the books she reads are Stephen King. Stephen King's got really two good books. He's got, if I wrote 300 books, I'm sure I'd have a couple that were popular too. It's like Rush. Everyone's like, Rush is a great band. Dude, they put out like 90 albums. Of course they're going to write a good song here and there. Even the sun shines on a dog's ass someday.
That's true.
Yep, nope, I was never a book reader. Didn't like it. I got my bachelor's degree and never opened a book. Just everything that I would get the syllabus, and I knew everything that I had to do, and I would just do it all online. I would return the books in almost brand new condition.
The Cliff's Notes?
I just Google. I got to find the answers to the questions on page 45. I'd open 45 and I'd Google.
Yeah, but they don't have Google. When I was in elementary school, I had to.
I'm talking college. When I got my college degree.
I actually had to read Around the World in 80 Days and find out what Phineas Fogg was doing with his fucking life.
Oh, Blanche and Carrie are getting on my ass because I said Stephen King sucks.
Oh,
sorry, he does.
He's got My mother is a huge Stephen King fan, and she's read everything that he's ever written. And one time I found a Stephen King book in a thrift store when I was in there, and I said, I'm gonna read this. And it was called Bag of Bones. It was a fucking love story, a horrific love story, but a love story nonetheless. And it was awesome. I could not put this book down. It was glued to my hand, but I could not put this fucking book down. It was great.
Doug Flood, after listening to me, you are not surprised. You know what my favorite book is? I'll read it every day, anytime. Why Doug Flood is Awesome. One page that says he's not. I'll read that every day. That's the Doug Flood book.
Oh.
Billy read The Time Machine when he was in prison. I actually read one Stephen King book. I read it when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I wanted to see the movie The Shining, and my father said, don't want you to watch it. And he had the paperback. It was a silver book with the faceless boy on it. And he said, I'll tell you what, if you read the book, I'll watch the movie. And I read the book in a day. And I said, all right, I read it. And he asked me a bunch of questions about it, and I answered everything. And he said, all right, I'll let you watch the movie. And I watched the movie, and I was like, dude, the movie's not even the same as the book. It's completely different.
The Lovely Bones was not Stephen King. It's a different book. It was called Bag of Bones, Billy.
Bag
Billy.
of Bones.
Sorry.
Ha ha, Doug. Ha ha.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Was a great book. See, I got to go. I don't read, so I just got to go by the movies. The Shining was awesome. The Shawshank Redemption was awesome. Every other movie, every other book that Stephen King's had that's been made into a movie sucked. So that's
The
where I'm going
Shawshank Redemption was in a short story.
Yep.
Was a short story in a book called Different Seasons.
by Stephen King, correct?
And Stand By Me was also one of those stories in there. It was called The Body. Fact.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I'm not a reader. I don't read. I don't like to read. Doctor Sleep is a follow-up to The Shining. Never saw it. Just
Doctor Sleep. That's me at fucking 5 p.m.
all right. Enough about books.
All right.
Fucking nerds. Last one.
All right.
Tower Records. Tower Records. Did you know they had over 100 stores? 100 Tower Record stores.
Wow, that's a lot of towers.
They were founded in 1950. They closed their last one in 2006. And since 2020, they've been operating online. So they're an online record store now.
Oof.
And they had over 100 stores. They had that massive store in Boston.
Oh, yeah, 5 stories.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. Fucking tons and tons. Like everything that you could fucking want. If Tower Records didn't have it, it probably didn't exist.
Yep.
Yep.
I love Tower Records.
Yes.
That's-
It was.
And we already covered FYE and Sam Goody and
I would Rocket Records was my go-to place.
Yep.
And Strawberries because they were close to my house and they usually had everything that I was looking for.
Yep.
But once or twice I went into the Tower Record store in Boston, and it's one of those things. It's like going to a museum.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see the whole thing in one day. It was just tons and like every fucking genre of music, every media you could get. 33s, 45s, 78s, cassettes, 8 tracks, CDs, DVDs, Laserdisc, whatever the fuck you wanted, they had everything in
Yep.
the store.
Yeah, I love
Yep.
Tower Records.
Blanche, if they didn't have it, they would order it for you.
And there was the famous Tower Records on the Sunset Strip that they show when Guns N' Roses released Use Your Illusion 2. They'd always go live
To
to
Tower Records.
Tower Records. Metallica, the Black Album, August 24th, 91. They're standing out there. It's coming out, and then they show the fucking kids coming out with the long box going, yeah, fucking new Metallica. Then they go home and get disappointed.
Doug Flood, Popcorn Records, where was that? That's one that I don't know.
It sounds so familiar.
Yep, Popcorn Records, don't know that one. Billy Thompson, Tower Records in Boston was full of gorgeous women, usually was. My dad saw the cosplay at Popcorn Records. That's where I bought Back in Black when it came out. Where the fuck is it? Nobody knows.
Oh, Popcorn.
I've never heard of Popcorn Records.
I know Popcorn Club was a club in New York that became the Coventry where Kiss first got their start, but
Never heard of
Swamps,
Popcorn Records.
Coconuts and Swampskip.
Yep, I remember Coconuts and Swampskip was in Vinton Square.
Oh, and there was a Coconuts on Route 1. It's Supercuts now.
One in Burlington, one in Boston. Okay, Doug, neither of us have ever heard of Popcorn Records. One in Burlington, one in Boston.
I don't know that.
Did not know that. All right, so that's our list.
All right.
That is the list of all the stores that we had. We didn't. Okay, so a couple that people threw out as ideas. Sears and Kmart. They're actually still both in business. They're nowhere near what they used to be. So they're pretty much defunct, but there are actually still Kmart stores and Sears stores out there. So they're technically not. And I know some of the other ones we say that there are still some stores in operations, but all of the other ones that have stores in operations are no longer part of the original company, which is why we put them on there, like Ground Round and Bickford's. But Kmart and Sears still operate as. By the way, Kmart bought Sears. Sears had tanked, Kmart had tanked, but Kmart became bigger than Sears at one point, and Kmart bought Sears, so they became one giant corporation, and they still have some stores.
Sears started as a mail order catalog through the railroad.
You used to be, if you go to like
buy
Detroit
a
and Chicago,
house.
you could have a house delivered, and a lot of them are still standing. The old Sears Craftsman's house. There's still a ton of the old Sears houses, but they had the catalog stores, and then they had the brick and mortar stores. The catalog stores they had in Oswego, New York, where there was nothing up there but fucking snow and cows. And you would go to the catalog store and flip through the store, and you would order everything, and then they would ship everything to the store, and you'd come back and pick it up.
I just find it crazy that you.
Carry Silver, the blue light specials at Kmart.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I just find it really strange that in the late 1800s, there was a mail order catalog, and you could buy, what do you want? You need chaps to go ride your horse. You need whatever.
Karina just said you could buy plows. You could buy a plow for your field from Sears.
That's insane.
There wasn't, at one point in time, everybody talks about, how Walmart's so big it needs to be broken up. At one point, Sears was bigger than Walmart because everybody bought from Sears. You got your TVs, your appliances, your clothing, everything but food you bought at Sears.
Yep.
If you grew up from the 20s to the 80s, you bought something from Sears. It was almost a guarantee. Everybody bought from Sears.
And God forbid you needed a Craftsman tool. You go in there, you buy the 112-piece socket set. One of them snaps or breaks. You bring it back in there. They give you another one free of charge, no questions asked. You go.
You could go in there with your socket and your ratchet, and you could go in there and say, "Yeah, I was trying to get this bolt off, and I smashed it with a hammer, and it broke." And they'd just take it back, and they'd hand you a brand new one and say, "There you go."
Have a nice day.
Billy Thompson, Lowe's took over Craftsman. Yes, Sears got rid of the Craftsman brand, and Lowe's took it over.
I didn't know that.
You could buy guns at Sears, absolutely. Billy Thompson.
Guns and Roebuck.
Billy Thompson's mom worked at Sears headquarters in Lynn. I worked for Sears Credit Central. I used to call people up and say, "Pay your bill, deadbeat." Sears had the kids' clothes returned. Yes.
They grow out of them?
When me and Karina, when we had Tori and Magnus, you would buy them a winter coat, and then the next year they wouldn't fit in it. You could bring them back the winter coat, and they would give you for free. As long as the coat was in good condition, you could bring it back, and they would give you a new coat in a bigger size. And they had that for many years.
That's pretty awesome.
But as long as you brought it back in good condition, they would give you the next size up, and it didn't cost you anything. Because they knew when you went back, you weren't bringing back socks and underwear and T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. But if you brought back the boots and the sneakers and the coats and all that stuff, they would give you brand new, and you could get the next one.
Do you remember when?
Size up.
Do you remember when the auto center was working on commission? Mm-hmm. And then they got sued, and then it didn't work that way anymore. They didn't tell you about your fucking air filter anymore.
I got suspended for 2 weeks when I worked at Sears Credit Central. When I worked there, that's when that whole thing happened with them charging people $3,000 for a brake job. And I was working for Sears Credit Central, and they pulled everybody in, and they had one of the big wigs from Chicago came down to give us a speech, that rah-rah, let's everybody get together speech. And he says, as everybody knows, we just took a big hit with the lawsuit and blah, blah, blah. We really need to ramp up our collection efforts here. And, we're going to post a $2 million loss this year. And the long-haired kid from the back of the room said, $2 million, what's that, 8 brake jobs? I got a 2-week suspension for it. Everyone in the room cracked up laughing, except for this old crusty guy in the Ronald Reagan era fucking suit. And he just stared me, gave me the fucking death stare. And after the meeting, I went back to my desk, and I got tapped on the shoulder, and they said, come out. And they said, 2 weeks, no pay. Go home. I got suspended. And I went back. I was there for another 8 weeks after that, and then I quit.
That's great.
Sears Tough Skins, yes.
Yeah.
I owned a pair of Tough Skins. They basically had a patch ironed on the inside of the pants so that you couldn't rip through the knees.
Yep.
Broken zippers, no problem. Yeah, I remember we brought a whole bunch of stuff back there. Loved Sears. Loved it. And they got crushed by Walmart. Target and Walmart and Kohl's, Best Buy, all the other stores just come out with better pricing. And a lot of those big stores, they take on a lot of debt. And once they start taking on a lot of debt, it affects their pricing. And they start getting complacent. And they go, people are going to come here anyways. Yeah, they're always going to come here.
Yep.
And eventually people just stop going to Sears. That was the end of it. Yes, truth hurts. Yes, cost me 2 weeks without pay. But you know what? If I went back, I'd do it again.
Bastards. Sears and bastards.
Fuck them. All right, so what did we miss? What stores did we miss? There was a couple other on the list that I didn't put on because they were kind of,
I like some of the listener suggestions though, like Stewart's, Heartland, local stores in Malden.
A lot of stuff like that.
And a lot of them that you might think don't exist because you don't see them that much still do exist in very, places.
Yep. And a lot of them,
like Star Market. You don't see many Star Markets, but they're still out there. A lot of them they're still Shaw's.
Great Friendlies. There was tons of Friendlies around, and I think for the most part, and Brigham's, we mentioned Brigham's earlier, but all those standalone ice cream store / restaurants.
There's an active Friendlies in Nashua.
Okay.
Right off Continental Ave.
Oh, Billy. Building 19 and 7/8.
I said that earlier.
Yes, Building 9. What a fucking great store that
I
was.
love that place.
You want to load your house up with fucking trash and look like a hoarder? For $20, you go to Building 19. You could fucking buy everything you needed for a house, from fucking washing machine to fucking beds, and it fucking always smelled.
That's like, I think it was
dirty.
Jamie that said Grossman's.
Grossman's.
It was,
Grossman's bargain
obviously,
outlet.
it was a lumber store, but then there was the bargain outlet.
We bought windows when we first moved into this house. We bought windows from Grossman's Bargain Outlet because they would have all the returns from Home Depot and old stock stuff like that from Home Depot. They would buy up and put in the store and sell for fucking dirt prices.
And Grossman's is a type of store. There's still one in Malden that you can't tell if it's still in existence. Like, it's still there, but do I dare walk in here and find out, no, we closed in 95. Sorry, pal.
Yeah,
you know?
Billy, the shit. What was the mall that was next to Building 19 and 7/8 on the Linway? Everybody used to go there because you could buy
That's where
butterfly knives.
Walmart is now.
Walmart is now. Yep, there was a like it, and it was almost like a giant flea market. That was
Ninja
next
throwing
door.
stars
You
and
could
all
buy
kinds
the
of
throwing
fucking
stars
shit.
and swords and the butterfly knives. You could buy all kinds of Rambo knives for $2.
Yep.
When Rambo came out, everybody wanted that, where you unscrewed the cap and it had the compass in it, and you got the sewing kit in there. Everybody, it was a flea market.
Flea market, yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what
Grossman's
sucks
outlet's
about
still
the,
open. I don't think Grossman's is still open. Was it just called the flea market?
That's what sucks about the Showcase Cinema in Revere across from the Squire closing. Amazon bought it, and they're building a brand new fucking building right down the street from the one they have on the American Legion Highway. But the flea market that they used to have at Showcase Cinema every Saturday and Sunday,
Where you could buy knockoff Coach purses for $5.
yeah, and CDs that you never thought you'd ever fucking see again.
Yep, Blanche remembers all the little stores at that flea market. That flea market was great because when DVDs first came out, you used to be able to go in there and you'd be like, oh, Men in Black, oh, that's still in the movie theater. And you'd get it home and it's some guy with this fucking little VCR, VHS fucking camcorder and super low def with fucking, and you'd hear people coughing and sneezing and farting on the fucking thing, but you could watch the movie before it come out. It was fucking absolutely terrible, but you could buy anything. They had, the Derry flea market had the same problem where they had tons of knockoff stuff and bootlegs, and it's a shit ton of it. And the one in Derry actually got sued and had to close. But the one in Lynn, it was I can't remember what the fucking name of it was.
Yeah.
Yep, bootleg CDs, anything that you wanted, you could get there.
Yeah.
Most of it was knockoff or stolen. And the same thing at the Revere flea market that they had outside the cinema. You could buy. I remember. You could go there and you could buy knockoff Levi's, and they had all the knockoff Levi's that you wanted. They looked just like real Levi's, but they weren't.
And back, speaking of knockoffs and bootlegs and bullshit, the Meadow Glen Mall in Medford had, they had the record stores and whatnot. They had kiosks back when heavy metal was the big thing.
Yeah. What do you mean was? It still is.
No, I'm saying when it was newsworthy and
it still is.
Well, all right. But when there was a profit to be made from it.
It still is.
Yeah, I don't think. All right, when cassettes were a thing.
Okay.
Thank you. That's where there was a kiosk in the middle of the mall that sold bootleg tapes.
Yep.
Actual tapes. That's where I bought the fucking The Freaks Don't Die. They just smell that way. It was Jason Newsted's debut in Japan.
Yep.
Trying him out on the finishing up the Master of Puppets tour.
And there was that one, and then there was Trapped Forever in Eternity was the other demo that I got off of you. There was the two of them.
Yes.
They were the bootleg Trapped Forever in Eternity and
Yep.
The Freaks Don't Die. They only smell that way.
Remember the Bongwater records?
Yes.
Fucking 45
Yep.
with Killing Time and Let It Loose?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking A.
Jeremy Cook, I used to fish behind the Nasty Hotel in Lynn Revere line. My dad used to fish. There was the gas wharfs right behind the Club Morgan. That's where I saw Weird Al Yankovic, was at the Club Morgan, which was right next door to Building 19. And I don't think I think it's just an empty parking lot right now, but that's where the Club Morgan was. And right behind there was the gas wharf in Lynn, and my father used to go blue fishing there every year. Yeah, that place in Lynn was epic. As a kid, you went there fucking every weekend, and you would buy your Chinese throwing stars and every other thing. And Billy, the heads that you see in the mirror are ours. There's nobody filming. It's just a standalone camera. Yep, everybody loved fishing off the gas wharf. Everybody loved going to Building 19. Whatever you needed at Building 19, you could get. It was probably moldy, and you needed a fucking tetanus shot. get hepatitis, but you could get everything you needed from fucking Building 19. That was a great place. Yep, Black Mass. Yep, there was a scene from the movie Black Mass that was filmed there.
Yep. Black Mass. Oh, the Whitey Bulger story. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right.
Fucking A.
That's it.
Thank you all for a great 1 year.
Appreciate everybody fucking joining us.
Old viewers, new viewers, viewers that tune in for 3 minutes. We love you all.
Trivia on Tuesday night this week. Don't forget, we appreciate everybody joining us. And remember, the freaks don't die.
They just smell that way.
There it is.